Dear students, friends and colleagues, today our academic topics is Steps of BLS, which is the part 2 of the basic life support. In previous video, we seen that chain of survival, in hospital and out of hospital cardiac arrest chain of survival. In this, first we will see with the out of hospital cardiac arrest chain of survival. The first step is to early recognize the problem and activate the help, right? So this is the sequences of action. Right. So what all the sequences of action include in this chain of survival? The first thing is the scene safety. Right. Whenever you see a cardiac arrest patient or you encounter somebody who is collapsing in front of you, the first thing we have to see is the scene safety. Whether that scene is safe for us or not, because already he is in cardiac arrest. You are going to rescue him, so your safety is the first priority. So how to check that scene safety is just by visual inspection. Just you see around the area and see any threatening is there or not, right? So what are the threats you can find out in the out of hospital scenarios is, one is like that depends upon the circumstances of the incident. For example, you are seeing the victim in the middle of the road, right? The road may be with the traffic, so that may be the danger. You have to move the victim from the road to nearby the safest place, right? So if it is in the staircase, for example, you are in the public place, the arrest happening in the staircase, that area is not a stable place to perform CPR or BLS. So you have to move the victim to the stable area and protected area to do that, right? So some of the incidents happens in the industrial areas, like factories or some other working places, right? There may be some special threats is there. For example, toxic gases. Some gases are smellless gas, colorless gas, so you cannot find out what is the reason for the cardiac arrest. That situation is very dangerous. Some of the places you will have the chemical threat, right? So that's also you should have in the mind. Some of the places it's an explosion, some of the areas it's a fire. So all these things we have to visually inspect that area before doing the resuscitation. So that is the first priority. For example, you are seeing some threat in that place. The patient is having the live electrical wire on him. It is an electrical threat. So what you have to do? As much as possible, try to rescue the victim. Otherwise, you feel that this scene is not safe for me, then don't enter that. You are not specialized person for the rescue. You are the specialist people for the resuscitation. So you get the help from the experts like firefighters or other rescue people to come and save that victim. Then you can proceed with the your life support techniques. So that is the thing. Right, this is the out of hospital. What I discussed is right. Then the gatherings. If more people are involved in that area, so they all will like they all surround the victim and they will watch. So this is also a one kind of threat. So this you have to deal with that. Right. If the same thing is happening inside the hospital, right? What say this unsafe you will feel is like the relatives and nearby the patient's relatives or bystanders. All these peoples are just they are watchers. Just they will watch from the distance. They will comment on you. So all these kind of scenarios, you have to explain the thing and you have to move the relatives out of the room or out of the resuscitation place. Then you have to proceed with the your basic life support steps. So whatever it is, the first steps of the BLS is to see assess the whether that scene is safe or not. If it is out of hospital, there are certain dangers are there. If it is inside a hospital, there are certain dangers are there. So we have to rectify that. Then you are entering into the scene. So what is the next steps of the this BLS is check the response of the victim, whether this victim or a patient is in real cardiac arrest or not. How will you know that? By checking the response, right? So how will you check the response? That's also a important thing. So how we can check the response is, there is a term is there that you have to tap and shout. It means you are tapping with your hand to the patient's chest, like you are tapping like this and you are shouting. What word you should shout is, you have to ask the loudly that, are you okay? Are you okay? Otherwise, if you know the name, you can ask by the name, right? So that is the thing you can do. So you are giving two stimulus here. One is you are tapping, that is the pain stimulus, and you are giving a voice stimulus. right? You are giving it must be loud enough to arouse the victim. So your voice must be a very loud and commendable. So that kind of situation, you are giving two stimulus. One is sound stimulus, another one is pain stimulus. Why these two stimulus are necessary, or either one is necessary? The both is necessary because some of the conditions the victims will respond only to the pain. For example, any structural brain lesions like the patient with the head injury or the patient with the neurological problem like acute stroke, any structural brain injuries, right? They will respond to the pain nicely, right, when compared to the sound. In the other hand, the patient is having any other metabolic problem like a hypotensive or any other toxins induced or any other metabolic problem, they will respond to sound nicely. So both the stimulus, both the pain and sound stimulus is important. So how will you check the response? Go nearby the victim, like kneel down and tap and shout, right? You have to tap over the shoulder and you have to shout with your loud voice. So these two, both stimulus are important. In case some special situations like fall from height, you avoid the shaking of the victim, because if you vigorously shake the shoulder, the cervical spine injury, if the patient is having a cervical spine injury, that may be get worsened and he may have the quadriplegic and neurological complications. So that to avoid that, you have to tap and shout, right? This you have to do. By doing this, tap and shout, you will analyze that whether this victim or this person is responding or not, right? Whether if he is responding to your stimulus, he will open his eyes, he will move the limbs, at least you will see the nice breathing, or you feel some sound, right? All these kind of things is he is responding, right? So the patient is responding, some sequence of action you should do. If the victim is not responding, you have to do some different sequences of action, right? Whatever it is, he need a medical help, that is no doubt. He is semi-conscious or totally he is unconscious, he is in arrest. So whatever it is, he need a medical help. So what we have to do is, you have to call for help. So how will you call for help, right? If you are alone, you are a single rescuer, there is no people around you except you, that what you have to do is, you have to call for the help, right? By the phone, you can call for the national wide emergency number like 108, or whichever hospital nearby you, the ambulance services nearby you, you call to them and ask the help as early as possible. You use these words, the patient is in cardiac arrest. Then they will know the situation, they will respond a little faster, right? So all these kinds of things you have to do, right? Somebody is nearby you, somebody is with you. So what you have to do is, you stay with the patient, you start the next steps of actions. So you ask the other person, if it is public place, for example, this arrest is happening in the airport or railway station or in the shopping mall, these places are equipped with AED, automated external defibrillator. So all these places are equipped with AED. You can ask them to bring the AED and activate the emergency medical services. So for example, if the crowd is having the 10-15 people, so whom I should tell that? That is very important. You see that who is having the colorful dress, very colorful dress, because you are giving an order to them, you are asking them to activate the help, right? Asking them to bring the AED. If that person is not doing, at least you know that by seeing that that person is not doing, you can assign the job to the next person. So that's how you have to manage the crowd scenario, right? So that is how you should call for the help. If you are a hospital staff, you are working in the hospital, you are encounter, you are the first responder in the cardiac arrest, your colleague is near with you, you ask them, that person, to activate the code blue or call for the help and bring the crash cart and AED near to that victim. So that is the thing we have to call for the help. So next is check the pulse and respiration. How you should check the pulse and respiration? We are all the healthcare professionals. So how to check the pulse and respiration, right? So the patient is lying flat on the floor or in the cart. So how you should check the pulse is, go nearby the victim, kneel down nearby the victim. If it is in the cart, you just kneel down into the cart, then you check the carotid pulse, right? Why the carotid pulse? The both carotid pulse is in the neck. So why you are using the carotid pulse rather than the femoral? You can check. Otherwise, you can check the brachial or you can check the radial. Why this carotid is important? The carotid is the pulse which is near to the heart, right? So that's not the reason. This is the pulse which lastly disappear, right? So for example, if you are feel the radial pulse, you need a systolic at least 90 mmHg blood pressure to feel the radial pulse, right? In the brachial, at least you need a 60 systolic to feel the brachial pulse. If it is a femoral, it needs at least 40 mmHg of systolic pressure. Even less than that, you will not feel any of these peripheral pulses. Only the central pulse, carotid pulse, you can feel that, right? So how will you check, right? Use these 2 fingers or 3 fingers, whichever convenient way. So you see this neck, this is the prominent part. What is this? It's a larynx, it is a Adam's apple. From there you come to 2 to 3 centimeter lateral to that. You are seeing a nice muscle here. This is muscle is known as the sternocleidomastoid. Sternocleidomastoid means which is connecting the sternum, clavicle and mastoid. So that is known as the sternocleidomastoid. Between the trachea and sternocleidomastoid, you are having the little groove. It's a depression. There you have to feel the carotid pulse in a gentle way. Use your 2 fingers or 3 fingers. Like how long you should check the pulse is, the thing is there, at least 5 seconds. It should not exceed more than 10 seconds, right? So how will you calculate the time? You have to count by yourself. Like how you will count the timing is, either you can count with 1, 2, 3, 4. There is a problem is there. Some people will count very fast, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Some people will count very slowly, like 1, 2, 3, like that. So how you make this counting is uniform is you make like a song. Same like what you do is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and if any person is pronouncing like that, so it will, the time duration of that count will be the same. So that technique you can adopt, that 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and like that. So you should feel the carotid pulse for the at least 5 seconds. It should not exceed more than 10 seconds, because if you are not feeling definitive pulse more than 10 seconds, don't waste the time to check the pulse. It is a arrest. You declare it is a arrest, then go ahead with the compression and other things, right? So this is how you should check the carotid pulse. 3 actions you should do. One is you have to feel the carotid pulse, right? The second action is you have to see the respiration. The third action you have to count the timing. So these 3 actions we have to do simultaneously, right? Your eyes over the chest, you are scanning for any movement of breathing is there or not, right? You are checking the pulse, any signs of carotid pulse is there or not, right? So then you are counting the time. Okay, right. So these are all the sequences of action you have to do in this recognizing the cardiac arrest and call for the help, right? What are all the things we have to check in this is scene safety, right? That scene is whether the scene is safe or not before entering into the resuscitation. Then go ahead with the check the response. So how to check the response? Tap and shout over the shoulder and you shout that are you okay, or if you know the name, call by the name, right? Then call for the help. If you are alone, you call for the through the phone call. If somebody is there, you ask them to activate the emergency system and ask them to bring the AED near to you and other equipments near to you, that you can do that. Then check the pulse and respiration simultaneously. So how will you check the pulse and respiration? Use the carotid pulse, kneel down nearby the victim, use your 2 or 3 fingers, just 2 to 3 centimeter lateral to the larynx. Feel the pulse for at least 5 seconds, not more than 10 seconds. Your eyes over the chest to scan the respiration, right? So this is all about the today's video. Tomorrow we will discuss about the compressions, how to do a high quality chest compressions. That is the very important fundamental of basic life support, right? So I hope that you all enjoyed this video. Please subscribe this channel. You will get the latest updates. Thank you for watching.